Today we will be discussing the remaining 25 questions. So the part 2 of the MCQ discussions in a manner to help the 2026 AL ICT students. So question number 26, assume that a project is to be done to computerize the administration of all government schools, right? Of all the government schools, not one or two, and the system developers in the project have been advised to use the structured system analysis and design methodology, which is the SSADM for it. So they are asking a key benefit of using the structured system analysis design methodology in this project. So, students, the structured system analysis design methodology, it enforces a rigid and a standardized structure with defined stages, deliverables, and documentation. At every step, it is especially well suited for large scale complex projects like this in this scenario, which is for all the government schools. So like computerizing administration across all government schools, where normally there will be multiple team or developers may be involved across different locations. So there will be thorough documentation. System analysis is one of the core. My dear students, please understand. System analysis is one of the core in this SSAD. And also it is methodological and documented. Now let us see the key benefit. So it allows faster development with minimal documentation, of course, wrong. It avoids documentation efforts completely, no. It eliminates the need for system analysis, no. The system analysis is the ideal core. So this is wrong. Because they say it eliminates. No, it is necessary. It encourages rapid software development. It is not rapid. They are following methodological, systematical, and documented. So here this is wrong. It ensures standardization and consistency of the entire project. Yes, it is normally the SSADM is firstly it is standardized. So the question number 26 answer is the fifth one. Right, let me show the marking scheme as a question number 26. The answer is fifth one. So question number 27. Question number 27. Which of the following statements about system testing are correct? Which of the following statements about system testing are correct? So normally students, when it comes to the system testing, it verifies that the complete, when it comes to the system testing is normally performed by developers. It is performed by developers and not the end users. Okay. So normally when it comes to the system testing, that is, as I mentioned, is normally performed by developers and not the end users. So they're asking which of the are correct. So it verifies that the complete and integrated system meets the specified requirement. Yes, if it verifies that the complete and integrated system meets the specified requirements. Yes, that is correct. It is normally performed by end users to validate. Is normally performed by end users to validate software functionality is wrong because it is done by normally performed by the developers, not the end users. So B, if it is coming as the answer, wrong. It is performed before unit testing in the standard software testing lifecycle. That is also wrong. Normally the flow is unit testing, then integration testing, then system testing, then the acceptance testing. So answer is A only. It verifies that the complete and integrated system meets the specified requirements. 27, the answer is first one. Question number 28. A software tester reviews a code. A software tester reviews a code part that calculates a discount based on a person's age and purchase history by manually tracing each if then else condition branch. Now here, guys, normally when it comes to the white box testing, they will be looking the internal code logic. Normally it involves examining the internal logic code structure and pathways of a program. Normally in white box testing, that's what's happening. So here also they are revealing a code part which is internal. So the answer here is white box testing. Right? Fifth one. 28, the answer is fifth one. Right. Then black box testing is not suitable because it tests only the functionality based only on inputs and tests whether the expected output is received. But without any having any knowledge of the internal code structure, that is black box. So here the answer is white box testing. So question number 29, a university replaced its old learning management system with a new one. So they are completely replacing. However, the new LMS was initially made available only for the first year students, which is a pilot. After this successful trial, it was made available for the other students too by stopping using the old system. So direct deployment. They directly stop the old system after that. Right? If they are running both new and old, then parallel. But here they have stopped the old completely and starting the new LMS on a specified date. So which type of deployment method is used in this changeover? One is pilot only for the first year and they are using the direct only. So question number 29, the answer is third one. Right? Fine. Question number 30th. Assume that a vehicle maintenance information system is to be developed when a vehicle's registration number is input to the system. So what is the number that the users are going to input is a registration number. Then the system should output the maintenance work records of the vehicle to the user. For an example, imagine on August 19, the oil of the vehicle was changed. So a service station manager should also be able to add a new work record to the system whenever such work is done to the vehicle. So also the service, not only the user, but also the system, the service station manager also should be able to add new records when there is any change done to the vehicle. So shown below is the first level data flow diagram of the system. So which of the following gives the correct replacements for P to U in the diagram? So question number 30 is also from the database, data flow diagram actually. So very easy question you can answer. So question number 30, what's the answer? We'll see. So user to P. So for P, what should be the answer? The registration number should be given students. We are clearly mentioning that the registration number should be provided by the user or the service station manager. So that is P. Then Q. Q is what? Before coming to Q, look from R only they are getting for S. Then only it's coming to the Q. QE, right? So Q is a process. So D1 is a data store. So in R, what should be the R there? So they are having the work history, no? So any update done and what is the updated done need to be viewed by the user. So R has the work history. R has the work history and P is the registration number. Then S should be, S is what? The data flow. From the work history, the work records comes to Q through S. So work records is what? S. And Q should be what? Displaying the work records. That's the process name. Displaying work records. So if you take the U, what? Service station manager also needs to be able to add new records. So P is add new records. New work record. P is at the, new work record, that is the data flow, and the process name should be of the U should be add work record. So again, data flow from U to R is what? New work record. So that's how the work history data store is created. So answer is fourth one. Answer is fourth one for 30th, right? So you can see it's very easy, you can answer. So question number 31. Consider the following relations from a database at a university. So the database used to keep data about the marks of students taking different courses. So a student will be taking different courses, and if you take one course, it will be taken by many students. The teacher who teaches the courses and the departments that each teacher is working at. So these are the relations. So if you take the student relation, the student ID is the primary key. Course table, course ID is the primary key. Teacher table, teacher ID is the primary key. If you take the results table, you have a composite key. Because normally if you take one student, will be following many courses, and if you take one course, that will be followed by many students. So many to many relationship between student and course tables. So that's why in results table, both those foreign keys are taken as composite key. If you take department table, department ID is the primary key. Now question is, which of the following is not a foreign key in this schema? Foreign key means what? If a primary key in one table, if that key is present in another table, that is called as a foreign key in another table. So here, student ID in result relation, student ID in results relation is a foreign key. Because it's a primary key of student relation, it is in results table, it's a foreign key. Course ID in the results. Course ID in results table is also a foreign key. Why? It is a primary key of course table. So when it comes to another table, it becomes a foreign key in other table. So this is also not answer. This is also not answer. Student ID in the student relation. Student ID in student relation is what? That's the primary key. So that is not a foreign key. So answer is for 31 is third one. For teacher ID in the course table is a teacher ID. Teacher ID in course table is what? Teacher ID is the primary key in teacher table. Teacher ID in other table, which is course table, is the foreign key. Department ID in teacher table is also a foreign key because department ID is a primary key in department table. If it is in another table here in teacher, it's a foreign key. So answer is third one. 31 answer is third one, right? So it's very easy, students. You can see, right? So question number 32. Consider the following schema of a table that is designed to store data about students. So student ID integer, no, null, no, it is not accepting null value and it is primary key and auto increment. So even if you don't input a value, automatically input number will be given by the system. Student name Vacha 100, null, it is not accepted. Email is Vacha, null is accepted. Null is accepted. Age is integer, null is accepted. Which of the statements are true? Student name cannot be empty when inserting a record. That is correct because null are not accepted. The same email address email could be entered for two students. Yes, that is also correct. Why? They haven't established any keys if they haven't made it primary key. Right? Key constraint is not specified as primary or unique. So that is also correct. Inserting a student without specifying the student ID will result in an error. No, auto increment is there. If auto increment is not there, then error. But here, even though you don't enter, automatically a value will be assigned. So all ABC are correct. 32 fifth one. 32 fourth one. Give me a second. 32 null column, okay. Auto increment, which means they are saying inserting a student without specifying the student ID will result in an error message. No, that is wrong. No, it won't result in an error message. Sorry. So the answer is A and B. A and B only. 32 fourth one. Okay, done. 32 answer is fourth one. So question number 33. Which of these is an advantage of using a compiled language compared to an interpreted language for implementing a program? So students, you know, compiled languages translate the entire source code into machine code, binary ahead of time, before the program runs. So, you know, this machine code can be executed directly by the CPU, making the program run significantly fast at execution time. So it is not line by line conversion. Entire source code is converted into binary. But if you take the interpreted language on the other hand, translate and execute code line by line at runtime, which adds overhead during execution and results in slower performance. They ask me advantage of a compiled language. So it is what? Less development time is the answer. Less development time. That is the answer is, sorry, not less development time. When it comes to the development time is more, sorry. Easier debugging, not easier debugging. What is the answer is fast execution of the developed program. That is the answer. Because compile program, the entire source code is converted into machine code before the program runs. So it is fast in execution. That is the answer is third one. Third one. 34. Which of the following statements are correct? Assembly is a translator for the assembly language. Yes, that is correct. Compiler detects only logical errors while compiling a program. No, they also detect syntax errors like grammar or structural errors. So B is wrong. Program compilation is a major task of the operating system. No, it is not a major task of the operating system. C also not the answer. An interpreter converts a program completely to an executable file. No, it is line by line. So correct answer is first one, 34, first one. Right. Question number 35. Question number 35. Which of the, so question number 34, first one, A only, right? Question number 35, which of the, sorry, consider the following A, B, C, and D variable initializations in Python. Which of the following gives the correct data type of A, B, C, and D respectively? So A is what? If there is a decimal, it's definitely a float. So all are float, we can't ignore anything. Now see, within inverted commas, if something is there, that is string. So this is not the answer. This is also not the answer. This is also not the answer. Fifth or fourth should be the answer. If something is within this bracket, it is tuple. So definitely the answer is fifth one. If it is within square brackets, it is list. This is what? Boolean. So answer for 35 is fifth one. Done. So question number 36, students. So you can see it's very easy. What is the execution output of the following Python expression? -1 means backward. This is -1, this is -2, this is -3. If it is going from front, 0, 1, 2. So -1 means 3. So 3 plus 3 into 4. So 3 into 4 is 12. 12 plus 3 is how much? 15. Answer for 36 is 50. Yes. 30 seconds, second one. Very good. So that's the answer. Question number 37. What is the execution output of the following Python code? So listen carefully. You have an X and it is string. It is within inverted commas. So first of all, we have assigned T is 0. Then we have assigned for the variable P 0. For I in X, that means we are taking one by one. Now I is what? Now I has the value of 0. If integer, we are converting this to integer because it is within inverted comma, it is float. Sorry, it is string. Sorry, it is string. So now we are converting it into integer. So 0, we are converting into integer. And what does this line says is convert the character to a number because it is string. Now we are converting to a number and check if it is 1. We are checking if it is, whether this number is 0 or 1. If it is 1, only true. If it is 1, it is true and this code will execute it. If it is 0, this code won't execute. This T assignment T plus 2 to the power P won't execute. But whether it's true or false, whether it's 0 or 1, anyhow, this will be executed. Why? This is outside this loop. See the indentation. So that's the logic. So first of all, 0. So when it comes to 0, this code doesn't execute it, but P will be executed. P is 0. 0 plus 1 is how much? 1. So now inside P, we have 1. So next is 1. So 1 we are taking. Now 1 means it's true. No? So this will execute it. So T is now 0. 0 plus 2 to the power 1. So, 0 plus 2 is 2. 2 to the power 1 is how much? That is 2. So now T is going to be 2. And P, now it is P is 1 now. So 1 plus 1 is going to be 2. So now P is going to be 2. T is also 2. P is also 2. Done. Done. Very easy. Very easy. So next one. Next one. So next one also we have 1. Next one also we have 1. So this code will execute it. So now T is how much 2? No? So 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 to the power 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 to the power 2 is how much? It is 16. Sorry, 2 plus 2. Yes, 2 plus 2 is, sorry, I made a small mistake, dear students. First of all, you need to do the power. Then only you should add that. Don't make that mistake even the exam. First, this has the highest priority. So 2 to the power 2 is 4. 4 plus 2 is how much? T is how much? 2. So 4 plus 2 is 6. Now T will become 6. And this P is now 2, no 2 plus 1, it will become 3. It will become 3. Right? Fine. Now that is also done. Now next one is 0. The next one is 0. So 0 means this won't get executed. So P is currently 3. 3 plus 1. Now it's going to be 4. Now it's going to be 4. And finally again 1. This one will be coming. So here T is now 6 plus 2 to the power. How much is P now? 4. So 2 to the power 4 is how much, my dear students? That is 16. 16 plus 6 is how much? 16 plus 6 is 22. So now T is going to be 22 and P is going to be P now is 4 plus 1 is 5. So we are printing what? We are printing T. So 22 will be getting printed. So answer is fourth one. 37. Answer is fourth one. Done. So question number 38. So from label Python code, following label Python code has been written to display all records from the book table of the books database. So they're asking which of the following gives the correct replacement for labels A, B, and C. So first of all, they have imported the MySQL connector. You guys know when the MySQL connector is imported, so since the module MySQL connector was imported, establishing a connection to the database requires calling its connector. So you need to call the connector. Again, I will say since the MySQL connector was imported, this has been imported. Therefore, you need to establish a connection to the database. It requires calling its connect, right? So connect, calling its connect. So A should be definitely what then? MySQL.connector.connect. So it should be connect, calling its connect. So MySQL connector connect should be for A. So definitely the answer is going to be either 2 or 3. Then if you see the B, then once a connection database, MyDB is established, you need a cursor object to execute the SQL queries. We have studied these students, then you need to have a cursor object to execute the SQL queries through that connection. So this is done by calling the cursor. This is done by calling the cursor. Before we call the connect, now we are calling the cursor. So it should be B. And finally, students, the my cursor.execute function needs an actual SQL query string to run. Since the task is to display all records, since the task is to display all records from the book table, you are writing the simple MySQL select all from book, right? So the answer is second one. For 38, answer is second one. Done. Question number 39, 38 answer is second one. Question number 39. Assume that you have to design the following systems. For which of them will you require the users to log into the system with username and password in order for them to use those systems? A learning management system for students to download learning resources and upload assignments. Definitely you need a username and password. Why? Because otherwise you don't know which student is accessing the system. You cannot identify what is that particular student's real um, current position, accurate position. So you need to database to uniquely identify which student has login database to get connected. It needs the username and password, and also for security concerns. Of course, online banking system definitely it need to have the security concern, right? But here, if you see the C, a system to let the public know about the service of a government department, it's opening hours. Anybody must be able to access. For that, you don't need username and password, right? So that is 39 second one is the answer. 39 second one is the answer. Yes. Right. Let's move forward. Question number 41. A web page is shown in figure 4.41.1 and part of the HTML source code that was used to make it is shown in figure 41.2 with five tags labeled from A to E. So see this zero trash, you have a big font size. So definitely that's going to be heading 1. There is no doubt in that. Right? No doubt in that. So this is not going to be the answer. This is also not going to be the answer. The next one, you can see this is a low cost way to compass. So you have a gap here, no? So paragraph tag is possible for B, paragraph tag. So all are paragraph. The next one. So here, P, if SRC is coming and you can see an image. So it should be IMG, student. It should be IMG. So this is also failing. We need to see whether it's A or B. And they are saying paragraph be happy. So here it is like they have used the emphasize, right? Emphasize. There is a text emphasize. EM. EM. Then here it is AE. AE means definitely it is going to be HREF because once you click it is going to get for that video. So answer is what? First one, 41. 41, the answer should be the first one, right? That is also done. Question number 42. Which of the following is the correct way to include the shop.css external CSS file to an HTML file? So what is the correct way? So correct way should be link rel, as I mentioned before also, style sheet href shop.css. So the correct HTML tag for linking an external CSS file to an HTML document is the link tag, this one. Placed inside the head section with two key attributes. So rel style sheet tells the browser that this linked resource is a style sheet, defines the relationship of the link file to the document. And this href shop.css specifies the path or URL to the actual CSS file. So now we will see why the others are wrong. So href shop.css cross A, this is an anchor hyperlink tag, right? Used to create a clickable link to a file. But this does not apply any CSS styling. So that is why it is wrong. And if you consider this one, this one is not to apply CSS styling to the web page. And if you see the next one, CSS src shop.css, there is no such tag as CSS in HTML. So this is a not valid syntax. And if you see the third one, style src shop.css, the style tag is used to write CSS directly inline within the HTML file, right? Inline. So it does not accept a src attribute to link external file. So this is not relevant to external style sheet, right? So this one style sheet shop.css/style sheet. There is no such tag as style sheet in an HTML. So this is not valid syntax. So the only valid answer is the rel style sheet href shop.css. So we are done with that as well. So question number 42. Then what's the answer? 42. Fifth one should be the answer. 42. Fifth one is the answer. Question number 43. Which of the following technologies is most convenient to make the color of all the second level H2 headings of a website to blue? So anywhere there is H2, you need to make it blue. So then question number 43, what should be the most suitable answer? It should be the CSS because using cascading style sheet on your students, it is specifically designed for styling web pages and also controlling colors, fonts, layout, spacing, etc. So to change the colors of all H2 headings across the website, you need to simply say H2, close this open bracket and say the color as blue. So that is more than enough. So that should be the answer. And if you need this answer supporting, let me know through WhatsApp comment. I will share this. Right. Question number 44. So this is CSS. Question number 44. Which of the following statements are true? Consider the following code with label P to S to answer questions 45 and 46. The code has been designed for an Arduino board to switch on or off a motor based on room temperature. So then first of all, let us try to make understanding of this code. Right, you can see the code, have a look. So I will explain. So 44. Sorry, 44 is not relevant to that. I'm sorry. Which of the following statements are true? Even when analog inputs are given to the digital pins of an Arduino board, they are read as analog values. The USB port of an Arduino board can also be used to supply DC current, direct current, electricity power to it. To input the room temperature to an Arduino board, the V out pin of the LM35 temperature sensor could be used. So let us see this. So 44. Answer should be B and C, guys. So let us see why the other answer is wrong. So if you say the A, it is incorrect because digital pins on an Arduino can only read digital values, which is high or low, right? 1 or 0. They cannot interpret analog voltage variance as a range of values. If an analog signal is given to a digital pin, it will simply be read as either high or low based on a threshold. Not as a proper analog, but the question statement argues as a proper analog. That's why it is incorrect. So analog inputs must be connected to the dedicated analog pins A1 to A5 to be read correctly as a range of values, right? So I hope you are clear. So option B is correct because if you take the USB port on an Arduino board, can indeed supply 5-volt DC power to the board. This is actually the most common way to power an Arduino Uno during programming or development. Connecting it to a computer via USB cable powers the board while also allowing code upload. If you take the option C, LM35 is a popular analog temperature sensor and it both pin outputs an analog voltage that is linearly proportional to the temperature in Celsius. So the one pin can be connected to one of the Arduino analog input pins to read and calculate the room temperature. Since B and C are correct, but A is incorrect, the answer is fourth one, B and C only. So this is the answer. So question number 45 and 46 are based on this code. So have a look on this code and I will explain this. So question number 45, they are asking which of the following contains the correct replacement for the labels. So here they are going to check the temperature and let us see. So first understand what this Arduino code is trying to do. So first of all, my dear students, I first of all wanted you guys to look this code. So now I'm going to explain the code. So this pin type, normally the pin type A1 to A5 analog pin, what it does is it reads a range of values like a temperature sensor, varying voltage. Example used for sensors. If you take the digital pins, it is from 0 to 13, only understands on or off or high or low, used for simple switches, LEDs, or in our case, the motors. So in this code, you can see A0, this is for an analog pin. A0, which you can see here is students, that is for an analog. A0 is for an analog pin. And this mod 8 is false for motor pin. Why? 0 to 13. 8 is between 0 to 13. So this is a digital pin connected to the motor. Now let's go through question 45, one blank at a time. P inside setup. You can see P inside setup. So P inside setup, pin mode, motor pin, P. So we should identify what is P. So this line tells Arduino how will I use this pin to send the signal out or receive signals in. Since the motor receives the commands from the Arduino, Arduino tells the motor to turn on or turn off. So simple logic, when the temperature is high, the motor, imagine a fan, it needs to switch on. When it is low, the fan should switch off. So here it is an output because Arduino tells the motor whether to turn on or turn off. So P should be what? Output. So if it were a sensor giving info TO the Arduino, we will use the input instead. But a motor is being controlled by the Arduino. Arduino is controlling whether the motor should be on or off. That's why it is P's output. And when it comes to the inside loop, integer sensor value Q sensor pin. We need to read the value coming from the temperature sensor. Since the sensor gives an analog continuity varying voltage, not just on or off, which is digital. So we must use the function that reads analog values. So why these should be analog values? The temperature has many variables, not only two, high or low. So that is why we are using the analog rate. So there are a built-in Arduino function called exactly analog rate for this purpose. So when it comes to our students, now we want to turn the motor on or off. So this is a simple digital action, whether it is on or off. So we can use the digital write. So now I hope you understand the logic. So S is to which pin are we controlling here? Look at what we are doing. Turning the motor on or off is based on the temperature. So the pin being written to must be the motor pin because ultimately motor is being on or off. So not the sensor pin. We've already finished reading the sensor earlier in the code. So it should be the motor pin because motor now we are controlling. So I hope you are clear on that. The answer for that is should be what? 45th answer is the third one. 45th answer is third one. Output analog digital via motor pin. Right, P is output, Q is then analog grid, R is digital wire, and S is motor pin. Right, very easy. So now let's go through the question number 46, checking if statement A, B, C are true or false. So let us first of all read the statements in the 46. So which of the following statements are true? The input from the temperature sensor could have been connected to any of the pins A1 to A5 as well as, but the const integer sensor pin A0 line in the code should be changed to reflect the change. Yes, I will say why it is correct. The motor should be connected to the GND pin of the Arduino board. That's also correct. The above code, when correctly completed, can be compiled and uploaded through the USB port to the Arduino microcontroller by using the upload button in the Arduino IDE. That's also correct. Now we'll see why they are correct. I know you will ask otherwise why it's not, why are correct. So the sensor code have been connected to any pins A1 to A5 instead of A0. But students, then the code line sensor pin A0 should be changed to. That also needs to be updated, right? Think of it like this. A0, A1, A2 to A5 are just different parking spots for analog devices. You could plug your sensor into any of them, but the code needs to know exactly which parking spot to use so it can read from the right place. If you physically plug the sensor into A2 instead of A0, but the code will still say sensor pin is A0. Therefore, the Arduino would be looking at the wrong pin. It wouldn't work correctly. So yes, you can use a different pin, but only if you also update the code to make A is true. Right, if you are changing the pin, you need to also update the A. Code line sensor pin also needs to be updated. So that is correct. A motor should be connected to a ground pin. That is also correct. Think of electricity like water flowing through a pipe. It needs to flow into a complete loop from power source through the device back to the source to actually work. This loop is called a circuit. So one wire from the motor connects to the control pin, motor pin. This is like the on or off value. The other wire from the motor must connect to the ground. This completes the circuits, allowing current to actually flow. So without connecting to the ground, the circuit is incomplete and the motor simply won't work even if the code is perfect. So yes, this is a basic necessary part of physical wiring. Any Arduino component, we have studied this, okay? B is true, yes. Statement C. The code can be uploaded to the Arduino using the USB port and the upload button in the Arduino IDE. This is simply describing the standard normal way everyone programs an Arduino. So write your code in the Arduino IDE, the software on your computer. Connect the Arduino board to your computer using a USB cable. Then you can click the upload button in the software. The code gets transferred through the USB cable into the Arduino board's memory and it starts running. So this is exactly how it works in real life. So nothing unusual here. So C is correct. So final answer is all A, B and C are correct. So answer is all A, B, C. Question number 46. All A, B, C. Question number 47. Which of the following statements are true? IPv6 is highly suitable for scalability and efficient operation of Internet of Things. That is A. B. Once added to the Arduino board, an Ethernet shield facilitates the board to connect to the Internet. 47. Static IP addresses cannot be used for IoT devices. Let us look this. 47. So A and B only. So correct. So IPv6 provides a larger address space. Normally it has 128 bit addresses compared to IPv4, 32 bit. So it allows for an almost unimaginable number of unique IP addresses. So this makes it highly suitable for even for IoT. Since IoT involves connecting billions of devices, sensors, smart appliances, and wearables, each needing its own unique address. So something IPv4 simply cannot support due to address exhaustion. Yes, so A is correct. So B, an Ethernet shield is an add-on module for Arduino board that provides Ethernet wired network connectivity. So once attached and properly configured, it allows the Arduino board to connect to the internet or a local network, exactly as the statement describes. So B is also correct. So if you say the C students, it is incorrect because static IP addresses can be used for IoT devices. In fact, static IPs are often preferred for IoT applications, especially for devices that needs a fixed predictable address for remote monitoring, control, or consistent communication. For example, a security camera or sensor that a server needs to reach at the same address every time. So the claim that they cannot be used is false. So that is why it's incorrect. So both static and dynamic IPs are valid options for IoT devices depending on the case. Since A and B are true but C is false, the correct answer is second one, A and B only.